So I just knocked a quick chamfer off screen there, and we are ready to drill this bad boy out. I have the table locked so it's not going to hit anything, and there's some liquid love. Yep, there she is. Yeah. Let's see if I can get one of these without burning the snot out of my hand here. Big old wide chips. Alright, let's see, where is my scale? So, looks like about 1 7/8 inches deep. We only need 420 thousandths there. So next I'm going to get the boring bar set up and get this turned, bored out here. And what I'll do is, once I get it close, I'll bring the actual compound rust base over here and test fit it and see how well it fits up. Alright, got the boring bar set up here. I got my short stubby bar here. This is the most rigid one that I have. I've got a high-speed bit in there that I've just put a fresh hone on. We're going to go 5 thousandths feed rate, and I'm guessing around 300 or 400 RPM. I'm going to start up at 400 and see how it likes it. Alright, so this section is extremely long and extremely boring, pun intended. So I decided to shorten it down, just leave this one clip in, and then we're going to jump straight to the end.
boom, through the magic of editing, we are at the last and final cut.
Alright, that should be good. Bring you guys out here and we'll get the plate over here and see how it fits. Oh yeah. There's almost no side-to-side movement, but it spins just fine inside there. So we're done with the main turning operations. I'm going to cut a chamfer into the inside here, and then we'll get the parting tool set up, remeasure the plate depth here, and then we'll part it off with just a little bit of extra thickness, and we'll flip it around, put it back in the forge, I'll dial it in, and then just take a face cut to clean up the other side. Alright, I knocked a quick chamfer on the inside and outside here. And what I'm going to do now is get my parting blade set up here. And I just realized I don't think I'm going to be able to use this parting blade setup, because I think by the time that gets in far enough, it's going to be hitting down here. So let me get one of my old school parting blade holders out and try to get that set up, and I'll bring you back. Alright, I'm set back up here. Got the old style parting blade holder set up here. I'm just getting this lined up with the edge of the face here, and all I'm doing is putting, this scale is a fairly thick scale, and so I'm just getting it where it's just barely touching while this is making contact on both sides. So now this side should be zeroed to this face. So I'll zero that, and then I'll move in. And I'm going to go to right to 420 on the DRO, so that I know it's going to be just about as long as it can be without being, or thick, without being too thick. And I need to check and make sure that this tool is on center. And I usually use one of my thin scales to do that. Here's one. All I do is drop this in, and I just come forward and drop it. I'll come forward just until I can't move it anymore. And it looks like it's a little bit high right now. It's still just a tad bit high. I don't know if you can see everything I'm doing here, but that looks like it's somewhat square now. Yeah. Make sure everything's clamped tight. I'm really really nervous about this and how well it's going to perform here. Usually I turn at about, depending on the type of material, on high speeds or on regular steel, I usually turn to part at about 250 RPMs. when I part tool steel, I usually drop it down to around 90 to 120 RPMs to part it off. Now, this is a lot bigger than what I normally use a parting blade for, and this is also only held by just 2 teeth basically on each of the 4 jaws. And I decided to use the 4 jaw instead of the 3 jaw just so that I'd have 1 extra tooth just for gripping strength, versus the 3 jaw only having the 3 jaws, plus it's clamping differently. These are, you know, each jaw is clamped down tight, and I can check each specific jaw and make sure they're good and solid. So I'm going to start this off at 100 RPM, and usually when I part, I use the power feed, and that gets me a consistent chip that's smooth all the way through. I'd prefer to use my parting tool that has the indexable carbide, but it can't part something this big around. So this is what we have to deal with. So this is what we're going to use. We'll see how she goes. I'm going to leave it on the slowest feed rate possible. Which is, on this machine, 0.0026. Alright, that's reading 100 RPMs there. I want to make sure I have a nice good stream of lubricant flowing onto this. I'm just going to come up by hand first. See, even that, let's try slowing it down to 80. And we'll see if she can handle it. This isn't one of those things where I want to have a problem. So I'm going to go, if there's any bit of a chatter, I don't think it's going to handle it or clear it up, I'm going to stop. And we might end up having to cut this some other method. But I got that high-speed parting blade honed and as sharp as I think will work. It's just starting to make contact now. And that's not going to work. Alright, so we're over here on the welding table, and what I did was clamp this back piece here. This is just a 1/4 inch plate. Clamped it down, rolled this up against it, pushed this up against it, and then pressed this side to bring them together, and they're as true as I'm going to be able to get it this way. I'm just going to put a couple tacks on this side, and then I'm going to flip it around and do the same thing on the other side. I'm just going to go 4 tacks, but I need to space them out evenly so that I don't have anywhere where it's going to be sitting off kilter if it's sitting on one of the tacks. Ideally, if you were going to actually weld something like this together, you'd V it out and do all that fun stuff. I'm not going to be doing a whole lot to it, just cutting it with a bandsaw. It's going to be clamped. The clamp's going to be right about here, so it's going to be right in that welded section. I just need the weld to keep it from popping off, and I think 4 small, 1/2 inch tacks or so will be plenty strong enough to hold this in, just so the bandsaw can zip through this section here. So I've got everything set up and ready to go, except for the filler rod, which I thought I had a piece sitting over here that I just cut. It was some heavier. Okay, looks like I'm gonna have to dig out my fill rod. The only stuff I have sitting out is all 1/16. It's just a wee bit too small for this job. So let me grab my correct filler and turn the camera back on. Alright, so I've got it set up now. I've got my TIG welder set up. I'm using the old TIG welder because the other welder, the new welder, is not set up for TIG right now, and I don't want to dig all that stuff out. I just want to get this done. I have the welder turned all the way up to 185 on the amperage control, which I'm going to be using a foot pedal, so it's probably not going to be getting that full amperage, but I want it there if I need it. So that's all I'm doing. Just putting those two tacks. I don't know how well you can see it on the camera, but two tacks on that side, got two tacks on the other side. Should be able to clamp it fine. Oops. Knock over my little welder's third hand. But should be able to clamp just fine and bandsaw that off. So I'll turn the camera off and bring it back when I get it over there. Alright, over here in the bandsaw, it's kind of dark in this side of the garage. I don't know how well it's going to come out on the camera, but I have the blade set up on the back side of the failed attempt to part it. And when I cut this side off, it only cut, it was only about 5/1000ths to clean up the face. So my bandsaw is cutting pretty doggone true right now. I'm hoping it'll track and stay on that back side. But if it doesn't and it's off a little bit, I think we should still be fine and have plenty of meat to take that off. I'm not going to videotape this because it's probably going to take a while and it's going to be just boring footage I'm going to speed through anyways. Alright, we got this set back up here. I have the boring bar set up because I can't reach in here with the way that the base is broken with any other tool but a boring bar. And you can see I already made one pass because I thought I had the camera on and recording and I did not. So I just filmed, didn't film myself doing this setup here and testing this to see how it would work. And it works okay. It's a little on the squealy side, but not enough. There's no like severe chatter. At least the first pass wasn't. chamfer on the inside. I think I'm just going to deburr this edge by hand, just because it's a wee bit too scary to get it in there with any other tool right now. And I don't think I even have one that'll reach the length that I need. This is the closest one I have. Let's see. I'm not going to get close enough with that. I have to extend the tool out. You know, it is not that important for that to have a nice pretty chamfer on it, so I'm not even going to mess with it. I'm just going to pick you guys up and bring you over here. Here's the base we made. I'm kind of thinking maybe I should have gone just a little bit further in. I think it'll be okay, but I think this side here isn't as deep. But you know what? I'm feeling it. I'm feeling this edge. If I rub my finger across, my nail gets caught there. So it is good. I probably, hindsight, I've got plenty of material there. I should have just let it be. So I'm going to go get my square set out so I can mark this center line here, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it inside, flip it upside down, and then I'm going to use a center punch or a of course, I'm doing this all on the side where you guys can't even see it. So my plan is to put a center line across here, insert it from the back side, and then find a transfer punch that'll fit down here, and then just put a light punch mark with a transfer punch right on the line that I'm going to score in here, and that'll give me my 2 holes to drill and tap. So I'm going to get that stuff set up and I'll bring the camera back. Alright, I don't know how well you guys can see on the view setup that I have, but my garage is an absolute disaster right now. I'm getting down to the wire here. I'll be having surgery. Today is Thursday, and I'm having shoulder surgery on Monday. So I've got one last job to do, and I need this base to do it. I'm not going to risk using that one that's already cracked. So I've got my center line scribed out there. Gonna get it. Thrown in here. And then let's see. That looks like it'll work. All I'm going to do with this one is actually, I think I can just go like this. I not even use the punch as a punch. Alright, I'm set up in my drill press, and I've got it started, or not started, I've got it set where it needs to be. I just gotta plug her in here really quick. Now, I try not to talk smack about tools. I'm not an expert. But there's certain things that are just known factors. Craftsman used to be a really good tool company. Used to be. This Craftsman 3/4 horse drill press is identical to the one at Harbor Freight. And I mean identical in every way that I could see to the Harbor Freight model. Now the Harbor Freight model costs about the same amount as the Craftsman. And had I known that before, I probably would have bought it through Harbor Freight. But I think the only difference is the motor. So maybe the motor is worth having the Craftsman name. I'm going to fire it up here, and you guys can hear how loud it is. It's ridiculously quiet. My other complaint is it has an idiot button on the chuck key. It's spring loaded so that you don't make the idiot move and tighten up your drill truck and forget it's there and turn the machine on and have it go flying across the shop. I get the reason to have the feature, but it makes it a pain in the butt for drilling and switching bits out quickly. Alright. I had to turn my tap folder around so it has the hole and not the point coming out here. And we're good. Go over and try it out, see how it fits, and make sure everything's lined up good. Alright, I've got it quasi together. I haven't finished the stub that is going to go underneath here, which I just need to part this off to length, but it's on there. And I mean, you take these to just like barely hand tight, and of course now it's not going to do it, but barely hand tight, and they're locked. I mean, it's locked down so well. I think this is going to add quite a bit of rigidity, and I'm going to call it a night. I will get this piece done and film it and get that done, and then this project will be complete and ready to be bolted down and put into use.